Yo, Dragon Ballers, real quick before we get into the video, make sure to check out our new sponsor, Dex Protection, down in the description below. Make sure to use them for all your card gaming protection needs, whether you need sleeves, whether you need binders, whether you need deck boxes, make sure to use them. I'm going to walk you guys through real quick. You have the product drop-down menu here. Let's say I want to go grab some sleeves. It brings you to the sleeve page. And then you have our regular sleeves, because we're not Yu-Gi-Oh! We don't use mini sleeves, we use real size sleeves. So we click on that. We go to buy now. We have our option of all the different colors. I think Dex Protection sleeves are super high quality. I use them. I use their binders to keep my collection. So guys, make sure to check them out in the description. Let's get into the video. Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about 9 cards that I feel are criminally slept on. I feel like some of them in the current format can be used very, very well to high effect. I feel like people kind of aren't looking at them in the right ways though. Besides that, some of the cards maybe aren't going to be so great in the current format, but I do think that they have applications in the future that I don't necessarily think people are considering. So I want to let you guys know about these cards. Maybe you can pick them up for cheap when they come out. So guys, that being said, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. If you guys want to help the channel out, there are many ways to do that. I'm going to drop an information card in the top right corner of the screen. We have the Patreon, where we have a ton of competitive content there for players who want to up their game. We have the Crosswell TCG merch store if you want to proudly rep the channel and look sick doing it. We also have the Gemmy page, which is a different type of alternative to Patreon, where you can make a one-time donation, get lots of cool perks, sponsor your own video, get one-on-one coaching. That stuff's all down in the description and will also be in the info card in the top corner. Make sure to check all those things out, guys. Really appreciate each and every one of you guys that does that for me. Really supports the channel in a great way. That being said, let's get started with the first card I want to talk about, Yamcha the Desert Hyena. I feel like this card's a little weird because it's a 4-drop 20k. In the past, at least in more recent formats, cards that are 4-drop 20k aren't really playable because of counterplays, whether it's Vegeta the Cruel, whether it's Nile of Hope, even the new counterplays that, you know, work off having a unison, God Slicing Kamehameha, Dark Dragon Slaying Bullet. All those cards do kind of invalidate a card with this stat lineup, but this card is just so good. You can kind of just see that without even reading it. The amount of text it has on the card is usually going to be an indicator that it's a pretty strong card. I feel like it is definitely worth playing. Let's give it a quick read. Permanent, if your leader card's red, this card gets plus 10k power. Okay, so 4-drop 30k, pretty nuts there. Auto once per turn. During a battle where this card is attacking, when your opponent activates a counter skill, switch this card to active mode. So basically, your opponent kind of like can't counter this. It's kind of crazy. Like if they have Mafuba, sure, that will work, but any regular negate, any regular type of counter attack is not going to stop this card from attacking, and that's really important for the next auto. Auto once per turn. When this card KOs an opponent's battle card, switch this card to active mode and it gets plus 10,000 power and triple strike for the turn. So basically, you attack a battle card, you KO it, it restands with triple strike plus 10k. Then if your leader was red, that's another plus 10k. So that's a 40k triple strike that is KO'd a battle card. You attack your opponent's leader. If they negate it, cool. Restand Yamcha, attack again. They have to negate it twice for that to work. It is a really high value card for 4 energy. Now, what I will say is you do have to build a deck around this. Typically, you don't want to cast this thing for 4. That is going to be true a lot of the time. It doesn't have deflect, doesn't have barrier. So to work around that, there is an SR in set 10, Bulma the Bunny Girl, which plays this from the drop area when one of your red earthlings is KO'd by a skill. So that's really important for bringing this thing out for basically 0 energy. That is pretty strong in that regard. And you do have to also build some other things around this card. You do have to have cards in your deck that allow you to attack active modes if that is necessary. You know, your opponent's not always going to have a rest mode battle card for you to attack, especially if they're reading the Yamcha. But if you play a number of things like the 2-drop Vegeta unison in red, if you play the 3-drop Sin Shenron unison in red, that gives your battle cards the ability to attack active modes. So that can be very, very good. You can even play the Yamcha leader from, I think it's set 5. He allows you to choose a red battle card on his awakened side, give that the ability to attack active mode battle cards. So there are ways to work around it. You just need to kind of build your deck around this guy, but I do think he is worth exploring. I do think he is a little bit more powerful than people might give him credit for on first glance. I do think he's very good. So in that regard, I wanted to mention this card, talk about it a little bit. Next up, Technique Chain Son Goku. I talked about this card in the 10 commons you should pick up video, and I feel like this is another criminally slept on card. It might not be great today, it might not be great tomorrow, but I feel like the value this card gives you is very good. So we have a 3-drop 15k. The 1 energy 10k combo is a little disappointing, but he is still good nonetheless. We have a unique activate main, pay a yellow. If your leader card is a yellow sand card, and your opponent has 3 or more energy, play this card from your hand. A 1 energy 15k beat stick is very, very good value. 15k beater means you're doing damage to awakened leaders. Only spending 1 means he is very, very energy efficient. The next activate main, which I can talk about in this video, I couldn't talk about it in the last video because the card that this works with isn't a common, but now I can talk about it. Activate main, pay 2 yellows, play up to 1 Son Goku Absolute Annihilation from your deck on top of this card in active mode, then shuffle your deck. Now that's a card I don't necessarily think people are sleeping on. I think people kind of understand how powerful that card is. It's the SS4 Goku 20k Barrier Deflect. He says when your opponent activates an extra card, they have to pay an additional energy to do so. That's very, very strong. So this guy brings him out from the deck for 2 in active mode. I think this card is definitely worth investing in, especially because it's a common. Definitely make sure you have a playset, and maybe get a cheap foil playset if it's cheap in the beginning. Son Gohan and Piccolo skill sharp, and I talked about this recently in a video where I was talking about side deck cards you should consider. Now, if your leader is blue or green, you discard this card from your hand for a blue energy, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, energy cost of 3 or less, and place them at the bottom of the owner's deck in any order. He does also have double strike, triple attack. I don't really think people will play this card for those stats, although it is, relatively powerful. This thing does fall into a lot of holes in terms of counterplays. There are a lot of counterplays that kind of hit this card. He doesn't have any inherent protection, but I do think the activate main is very, very good, and I think people are kind of sleeping on it because of the fact that this is a discard 1, pay 1, and it removes 2 battle cards. So you're literally trading 1 resource for 2 of your opponent's resources. So this card for 1 energy pretty much answers all those different threats they'll have on the board, basically setting their tempo back, and you're not really losing much, just 1 card that honestly you probably would have wasted anyway to defend against an Nagrishi attack or to defend against a Reluctant Reinforcements attack. So the fact that you're spending 1 card here to deal with 2 is very, very good. Definitely don't sleep on this card in my opinion. Next up, Vegeta Elite Unison. There are so many good Unisons in red, and I feel like Vegeta is probably the most slept on one. Honestly, he probably is the weakest Unison, but it definitely means he's not bad. I mean, when you compare him to 3 other great Unisons in red, yeah, he might be the weakest, but he's still really, really good. So 2 drop 15k auto. When this card attacks, add a marker to it, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards. It gets minus 5,000 power for the turn. Now, this is something that the rest of the Unisons don't really do for this type of energy cost. Yeah, Shenron does minus 15k to 2 different battle cards, but this guy is played a turn earlier. It can answer 1 drops, which can be very, very relevant against cards like Basil Fatal Rampage, against cards like Frieza Death's Embrace, maybe Adventure Begins Son Goku. So that is very, very good there. Activate main -1, choose one of your red battle cards or leader cards. It gets plus 5,000 power and can attack your opponent's battle cards in active mode for the turn. So like I mentioned before, this pairs very, very well with the Yamcha we talked about in the beginning of the video. For the -1, give them the ability to attack active modes and an additional 5k. So a 45k triple striker that can't be negated once is pretty crazy in my book. So maybe building that deck around that Yamcha, you would want to incorporate Vegeta, at least maybe 2 to 3 copies if you're going to play 4 copies of Shenron. But honestly, you may want to see Vegeta earlier. You might want to play him earlier if you can get Bunny Girl online faster. Maybe you're against green, maybe you're against something with a lot of board removal. That can definitely be a very, very good call in my opinion. Next up, Son Goku Savagery Awaken. I feel like people aren't talking about this card enough. It's honestly kind of stupid. So we have a 5 drop 25k deflects. That's the stupidest part right there. Auto, place 2 cards from the life from your drop area. When this card's played, deal 1 damage to your opponent. Now, I guess deflect isn't necessarily too bad on this card because there aren't too many things that interact with 25ks and 5 drops already, but you are stopping this thing from being interacted with Frost Elite Poison, Cold Bloodlust, and God Stealing Trunks. That is relatively annoying. Now, the thing with this card is when you pair it with the new Yamcha leader coming out in set 10, it's actually pretty dumb because when you play this card, you can't stop the auto from going off in any way, and then when you do play it, you deal damage to your opponent. Yamcha leader triggers to deal damage to your opponent, so that's 2 uninteractable damage you're dealing to your opponent, and that is pretty devastating in certain matchups. I think higher level players are going to be able to play around this, but even then, it is very difficult to do. Now, the way to play around it would be to stay at 3 life as long as physically possible. Knowing that you're going to 2 life, that's going to be the way you know that this card is pretty much instantly going to kill you as soon as they drop it. But it is very hard to do that against the Yamcha matchup because the leader hits inherently big numbers. The leader inherently attacks for 15k on the unawakened side and 20k on the awakened side. That's so strong and so high value that it makes it very hard to play around this card because you have to waste more resources in order to not take damage. So that makes it very difficult. That makes this card very, very good. I think it's a bit of a card that people are sleeping on in their Yamcha builds, just my opinion. Next up, Bulma Out Adventuring. A super combo that I'm also pretty sure people are sleeping on, and it is very good. It is very specific in the sense that it's very balanced because of that. Let's give it a quick read. 1-drop 1k super combo. Auto if leader card is red and you and your opponent have a total of 8 life or less. That's the specific kind of sticky part there. When this card's used in a combo, draw 1, so you get your normal super combo. Then you also, if it's your turn, choose up to one of your red earthling cards, energy cost of 1 in your hand, and play it. So in that regard, it's just a super combo with extra value. I mean, you could play different 1-drops that draw cards, different 1-drops to help you be aggressive, like Intensifying Power Trunks. That's pretty cool. Activate main once per turn, choose one of your mono red battle cards or unison cards, gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. So keeping that in mind, this card is definitely pretty specific in terms of how you can use it, but I think in the right deck, in the right format, this is going to be very, very good. Like, for example, playing Baba Fortune Teller, the 1-drop dash pack promo with this card, that basically gives you an extra 5k for free and an additional draw off of Baba being comboed. So that actually combos very, very well in that regard. So I think this is another slept on super combo. You have to make sure you can get your opponent down to 8 life. You have to make sure you can get yourself down to the correct life total, both you and your opponent, in order to use this auto. But it is very good nonetheless. Definitely don't sleep on it. Burning Impact, another card I think people are criminally sleeping on, even in the current format. Counterattack, shuffle 2 battle cards back from your opponent's drop area into their deck. Permanent, if you have a unison card in play, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying energy cost. Now, the really unfortunate thing here is that it doesn't actually stop the attack on its own. The fact that you can use this thing for free on turn 2 after playing your unison. Next up, Mirror Faithful Servant. I think people are kind of sleeping on the fact that this allows Toa to start doing mirror shenanigans as early as turn 3. And this card is pretty much immune to counterplay if you have multiple copies of your hand, because if you don't have any battle cards in play, you can play it for free, no energy investment. So let's say you play this, let's say your opponent Denial of Hopes or Vegeta the Cruels, you play another copy from your hand like nothing ever happened. That is very, very cool. Getting Toa started on turn 3 is definitely going to make her a lot more interesting come set 10, in my opinion. Next one I want to talk about, this is actually my bad. I think I slept on this card a little bit too much. Gotenks Going All Out. I remember talking about it in the yellow spoiler videos. I wasn't super impressed with this card. I thought it was, you know, too susceptible to counterplay. I didn't think you got enough benefit out of it, but honestly, the more I've seen Marcus play it on his streams, I think this card's absolutely incredible. One of the reasons I really didn't like it was because you had to play a ton of Gotens and Trunkses in your deck that I kind of felt like didn't really do anything. But honestly, when you're pushing for game, using those Gotens and Trunkses to discard dead cards out of your hand just to recur themselves from the drop area, get those 5Ks in your hand to help you push for game, that's so, so strong. And the fact that you drop this guy, draw 2, kill a battle card, ignoring Indestructible, and all that good stuff, and the double strike dual attack, yeah, this card's a lot better than I thought it was. I wanted to shout it out at the end of this video because I don't think I gave it enough credit. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I want to know in the comments below, do you think there are any other slept on cards in set 10? Thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time.